Hello, and welcome to episode 101 of Design Curious Podcast. I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. Today on the podcast, we're talking a little more about construction projects, and what we're focusing on today is average pricing. Like I say in the episode, that I go based off of course, my area and projects that I've typically seen. So I'm giving you a good ballpark. Yours will be similar. It might be more or less depending on where you are working out of, but it should be a great place to start, at least the conversation on budgeting construction project. Don't forget to check out the show notes. I have a lot of links there of downloads for you. I'm also going to include the download from today's episode there. And there's more information about my design mentor. If you're looking to start your career in interior design the right way, then you will want to get into my online platform where you can learn about the career as well as get one-on-one time with me to meet any needs that you have as you're starting your career out. So whether that is reviewing your resume, looking at projects from school, or helping you get your business started, we can do all that in the online platform. So check out the links in the show notes. And now let's get to the episode about construction pricing. You're now listening to Design Curious, a place where you, creative one, are here to learn about what it really is like to be an interior designer. And I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. If you're worried about how to succeed in a creative career, if you're ready to learn your next steps to become an interior designer, and if you want the satisfaction of doing something you love every day, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, a notebook, and let's dig into today's episode. So this is picking up a little bit from episode 99, where I was talking about furniture costs, and also from episode 89, where I'm talking about construction projects and design. This is going to give you a little bit more information as to the costs of construction. And of course, I'm giving it to you based on my experience here in Northern California. So take it with a grain of salt that you might need to adjust it for your area. But I think it's fairly typical. It's not going to range too much off of what these project costs are. So again, as with any budget, this is going to stack up and add up quickly that your client may not realize, or you may not realize, how much a project is going to cost. There are a lot of companies out there who can do project estimations and costs. I get emails, tons of emails every day from people who want to estimate my projects. I don't know if this is something that contractors are using or architects. It's not a service that I want, but I definitely get a lot of emails about it. So project estimating is definitely hard for people to do. But I have created another guide just for this for my clients, and I can share it with you as well. It's called the Remodel Budget and Timeline Guide. It does go hand in hand really well also with that Remodel Survival Guide that I have. The Remodel Survival Guide tells you how to go through a construction project, what order everything goes in, who needs to come first and next and last. And this will help give you an idea of how much all of those projects are going to cost. So let's look real quick at what's in this guide that I put together. So we're talking first about the project budget. And this is a question that I will typically ask clients at the initial consultation. And even before that, as they're on the inquiry phase, they get to answer questions on my intake forms as well as on the discovery call about budget. We want to make sure they have a fairly realistic idea, and we'll give them some averages based on what these budget costs I'm about to tell you are, to see if that is something that they thought might be feasible for them, or if that's just really outside of their budget. So let's go through it. Sometimes we'll do a paint consultation, which is a lot of fun. We're in and out. I love working with color. So we will also let people know that if they're painting the whole home throughout, and if this is included in part of their construction project, if they're painting all the walls, because often your house will need to be painted about every 10 years, I think is the recommendation. Depending on the type of paint you have, of course, if you have flat paint on the walls that can get marked up and scuffed really easily. Like when I moved into the house that I have currently, the previous owners kind of did a whitewash of everything through right before they put the house on the market. And I think all the walls were in flat white. And so it did not stay clean for very long with my little munchkins running around. So we had to recently paint when we were remodeling last year. And I made sure that it was a matte paint that is cleanable, washable, and going to last a lot longer than the 5 years that it had previously. Yeah, so about every 10 years you want to repaint your house. And so we say that's going to cost you about $15,000 to $25,000 to do all of that, to paint all the walls, the trim, baseboards, doors, anything that might be included in that. And of course, that varies on the size of the house and the painter. But it's going to be about $15,000 to $25,000 is what you want to budget for that, based on what we've seen come back for clients that we've worked with. Because a lot of people want to do a quick refresh of their home just to kind of get it updated. So they want to do paint and maybe flooring throughout. So flooring is the next topic. New flooring, which of course, as you know, can vary a lot. You can have a wood floor, which can either be engineered wood. It could also be a laminate or a vinyl flooring. You could have tile throughout, or carpet in some of the bedrooms or up the stairs or something like that. And so depending on the flooring that you're picking, it's going to vary a lot. And then whenever you're doing flooring, you need to include new baseboards throughout because they're going to tear off those baseboards. And really, it's just a great time to replace them, make them a little bit taller, which is more the custom nowadays. Maybe back in the 80s, early 90s, they had shorter baseboards. And of course, if you're taking off a baseboard, painting the walls and putting a baseboard back on, or even changing the flooring, sometimes the height of the flooring can change. So you want to make sure the new baseboard is tall enough to cover that line where it previously was on the wall. So it's just going to make it really easy for everybody if you get just a slightly taller baseboard so it covers up that line. It'll be nice and clean and crisp. So you want to budget for that $35,000 to $45,000. Again, these are just ballparks. So let's just say on the high end, someone wanted to just do paint and flooring throughout, then they could be spending up to $70,000 just to do all of that. It's a great rule of thumb to go by and to kind of throw that out to a prospective client on the phone and say like, okay, you just want to do paint and flooring. Well, the budgets for that can be $50,000 to $70,000. Is that something that you had in mind for spending? And that includes materials and labor. Okay, so kitchens. Kitchens are usually the first thing to get remodeled or the only thing to get remodeled if you're going to sell the house. Kitchens are the hub of the home. It's one of the most return for investments because kitchen can really sell the house. It's where a lot of people spend their time and they really want to invest their money there. So the prices of kitchens have just keep going up. For our average, we several years ago would start with an average of $75,000, but lately, due to labor and material costs, inflation, and all that, we are starting our kitchens at $150,000. Is really what is going to be realistic. So we say $150,000 to $250,000 for the kitchen if you're going to want to update it. And this is for a remodel. So like you might be doing new cabinets, you might be doing new flooring, new appliances. You might not be doing high end, you might be doing mid-range, and it still could be $150,000. So keep that in mind. Again, that's going to be a really common question. If you have an inquiry, call. Kitchens are often the thing that people want to do. Fireplace updates. We've done a lot of these over the years. And what we're seeing, those come as $25,000 to $35,000 because you're usually replacing the fireplace. It might be a wood burning and you're doing a gas insert. Then you have to rework the wall. You might be cladding that wall with stacked stone or tile or any kind of treatment you want to do, and likely might add some new built-ins on either side of it. So typically when we're updating a fireplace project, we will give it a budget of $25,000 to $35,000 just to make sure we can get that focal point in the room looking the best that it can. Laundry rooms or mud rooms, those typically run about $25,000 to $35,000 as well. They're usually quite smaller. There's some cabinetry and appliances, maybe a sink or two, and it can add up to $25,000 to $35,000. And so then a hall bathroom, so this would not be the primary bathroom, but maybe a guest bath, the kids' bath, or a powder. Powder would be a little bit less because you have a little less going into it typically. But when you're dealing with shower, toilet, vanity remodel, we start the estimate at $50,000, go up to $75,000, and that's just for a hall bathroom. A lot of people are shocked by that number. Can you do it for less? Likely. But again, I'm talking to you about numbers that is a project worthy of a designer. So you're going to be spending additional money besides these numbers that I'm throwing out on design fees. This is just the construction and materials and labor costs for that project. So this is outside of design fees. And any project that is using a designer to remodel a project is going to have a certain mid to high end range of product that is being used, materials that are being used in there. So all of the sinks and the faucets and the tiles and everything, it's not going to be your Joe's Discount tile shop that you're getting things from, or Last Call Plumbing Appliances. These are going to be things that the designer's going to spec and then needs to know that they're available 3 months later after their permit's pulled, and then they're finally ready to get into construction. So that is the caliber of bathroom that we're looking at. So that's, in my experience in my area, has been typically $50,000 to $75,000. Then the primary bathroom, again, you can get really detailed with the primary bathroom. They can be quite large. And so depending on if it's just a standard bathroom or if you're adding in steam showers or a sauna or something like that, it can really add to the price tag of that. But a standard primary bathroom remodel for us would be in the $70,000 to $125,000 range. There's a lot going on with freestanding tubs and large showers with niches and handhelds and ring heads, and there's a lot that goes into it, and you want it to be a beautiful piece. It's, again, a great return on investment because the primary suite as well as the kitchen are the things that can sell a house really well. And so it's a good investment because that's also where you spend a lot of your own time, and you want it to be a place that you enjoy. And then we also include, permitting fees as a thing to consider. People often don't. So when we're doing our overall costs of a project, we'll include a little couple thousand for permitting fees. And then if you add it all up, so say you're doing a kitchen and a primary bath, you could be looking at close to $400,000 in your budget. And it's shocking to me, to a lot of designers I talk to locally. We've all been struggling with our initial consultations and our discovery calls because people are just blown away by the costs that we're throwing out and saying that, like, well, if you want to do your kitchen and primary bath, it's $400,000. And some people, maybe that's, if they haven't remodeled in a long time, that could be what they paid for their house. And so it does take a lot of getting used to. The prices are not going to be going back down. It's not a matter of supply anymore because through COVID, we definitely had supply issues and a lot of prices went up for lumber and things like that. Those did come down, but they came down probably as much as they're going to. And so it's just really good to have a handle on what these construction costs are going to be. I wish I had better news, but there you have it. I will touch also what's in this guide, and again, it'll be in the show notes for you, is that we have a timeline. And so like I've talked about, the way I run projects through my company, we typically run 6 to 8 weeks in our design phase. So that's for all the specifications, laying out the furniture, sourcing the furniture, sourcing all the materials, doing our drawings and elevations. So a quick turnaround would be 6 to 8 weeks for all that. There's so many details that go into that. And then we're ordering all of the samples and making sure they're here for the presentation. Then if we're ordering furniture, we need to check on pricing again and finalize those orders. That can take 1 to 2 weeks. Processing those orders is another week. And then, of course, the furniture production is in its standard 8 to 12 week timeline, especially for custom sofas and things like that. Bidding with a contractor, so we'll get our estimates in before the presentation from a contractor based on our drawings, and that can typically take 2 to 3 weeks for him to check with his subs and get averages or get specifics if we're pretty confident that contractor is moving forward with the job. Then small renovation timelines. So if it's just a small bathroom, they might be able to get in and out of there in 8 to 12 weeks. Larger renovations like a kitchen and maybe great room included in that could be 4 to 6 months. And then a whole house renovation is typically closer to 12 months. We're working on right now that is going into 13 months since we first met with the clients. And that is about average for a whole house renovation. So just some great information for you to keep in mind, give you confidence when you're talking with your clients about their project. And so I hope that was helpful. Hopefully now you have some great information to take with you as you are discussing project pricing with your clients, helping them to work up a realistic budget, one that is not going to come back to bite you. And of course, when you're working with budgets with the clients, always prepare them that things might cost more. This is just an estimate, and they're not going to remember that part of it. They're just going to remember the number that you gave them and hold you to it, which is unfortunate because things always cost more. And there's always something that comes up in a project that was unforeseen, which is why I include on my overall costs a 20% buffer, and it's a contingency line. I say I total up all the project costs, so whatever it's going to be per room plus the furniture, and then I say, here's another 20% right on top of that because you're going to need it for something. Let's put it in the budget now, and you'll be glad that you did have this in mind. So if the project was going to cost $100,000, then they're going to have an extra $20,000 in the budget to work with because that inevitably is going to come up. So that's a little tidbit for you, and that's all I have for this week. Next week, I'll have another great episode, and until then, stay creative. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and a review. This helps me reach other curious creatives like you. If you have a topic request or would like to contact me, simply head over to my website, rwarddesign.com, or email me at podcast@rwarddesign.com.